Hello. I'd like to take a few minutes to walk you through the process of creating an exam inside of Connect that can be used in one of two ways. Either to do your testing right inside of Connect if you would like your students to take their exams online, or to put together an exam or multiple versions of an exam that you can print out and use for an in-class. You can start from your Connect homepage and go to Add Assignment, and then create new from your question bank. Once you're here, you can name your assignment in just a moment, but actually, which first thing you need to do is find your test banks. For different Connect products, it may be in two different places. It could be right inside of the chapter content, where it'll say test bank, not question bank, or at the very bottom, there's an actual test bank with each chapter in it. So when you're putting together an exam, especially one over multiple chapters, this is probably the easiest way to do things. What you want to do is, let's say this is a chapter, arbitrarily speaking, this is a chapter over just 2 chapters, or an exam over 2 chapters. Select the first test bank, and there are all of your questions. You can notice by question type the different types that are over here, and if you want to stick to just a multiple choice, just hit here, filter, and you can see there's now, in this particular bank, 125 questions in this first chapter. You can name your assignment, so we'll call this one Test 1. And then you can do this one of two ways. If you're comfortable just taking all of the questions and putting them into a big pool, you can do that. Or if you want to go through and look at each question individually. You can also go through and sort and filter your questions depending upon your product in different ways. So if you want to go through by different question type by Bloom's taxonomy, or let's say you want to have a certain number of medium difficulty questions, and let's just say there's 75. All right. So once you're here, you can see the questions here are numbered. If you'll notice, they're numbered 1 through 125 here, for example. But as we filter down to just the medium questions, there's 75. But you can see the question numbers lined up anyway. So if you wanted to go through and review each question individually, you wouldn't lose your place. So what you can do is, if you'd like to go through and review each question individually, take an opportunity to read the question, gives you the correct answer. If this is a question that you don't want to use, you can just click over. It'll take you, like you see, to question number 4, question number 5, question number 9, and so forth, so on. Once you find questions that you'd actually like to add to this particular pool, click Add this question and add it to the pool. If you add it as an individual question, then this question is one that every student will answer. So obviously you want to throw this into a pool. What you want to do is create a pool for each chapter within this exam. So what this allows you to do is you go through here and you can configure your pool later on if you want to, point values, etc. Add it to your pool. Again, so you can go through each question just like this. You find this question you like, add it to your pool, your chapter 1 pool, and there you go. Just go through just like that. And the reason you want to create multiple pools for this one assignment, this one test, is what that will allow you to do is when you go in and when you have multiple pools, is you can select the draw. In other words, if this is a 50 question exam and you want to pull 10 questions from chapter 1, 10 questions from chapter 2, and so on and so forth, that allows you to do it. Does that make sense? So we'll go back to add questions here, and we'll go back, if you look at stuff like these questions here, we're going to go ahead and dump all of these questions into this pool. And once you're through with the first chapter, that's going to be on your exam, just go back to your test bank and go to your next chapter and repeat the same process. You can filter to get your short answer questions out of here, because those are ones that you would have to manually grade. So if you want auto graded questions, you can go like this. Same thing. So you go through, you see a question you like. Now what you want to do when you're in the next chapter is you want to create a new pool. Chapter 2, for example. Add it to your pool. And there you go. So if you want to go back to the list, you can click here. Again, if we want to say we want to add each one of these questions to the second pool, there you are. So once you're done, and again, you have your multiple pools here. You can go, you organize your assignment if you need to. You'll have multiple pools. You can set your draw. So let's say I want to pull, this is a 50 question exam over just 2 chapters, for example. I want to pull 25 from there, 25 from here. I set my point values for each one of them to be worth 1 point. And then you go to your policies, and we've edited the assignment. The next step is to set the policies for this particular assignment. Now, if this is an online exam, obviously what you want to do is create a window. So what you can do is set a time limit for this particular exam. But let's say you want to have a window of, let's say, 24 hours. And it's going to default, let's say, 12 o'clock a.m. to September 18th. Let's just say there. So it's basically a 24-hour window that students have to do this particular exam. We'll call this one an exam. And by creating this particular policy, what it's going to do is default some of the settings. But you can go through here and edit those settings. Now, if you want to go through, again, the attempts is already deemed to 1. If you go to your basic settings here, you can change the number of attempts you want. But again, if you want to set a time limit for this particular exam, again, this is in the environment of a student doing this exam online. It's 45 minutes, for example. You can also scramble even though you have a pool of questions. But you want to set this, whether this is face-to-face, an exam you're going to be handing out in class, or an exam to be taking online. All right. Now, printing, obviously, you don't want to allow printing if this is a face-to-face. Now, this is important. If you're going to be printing this exam out to hand out to your students, you want to click this button to allow printing, and I'll tell you why in a moment. But obviously, if this was face-to-face, that would not be the case. Apply your settings, and you're good to go. All right. Now, I'm going to go back and click this over here just a moment, just to show you in the face-to-face environment if you're handing this out. Click Review and Assign. Gives you an opportunity to go through, check your policies. If you had multiple sections, you can go assign this particular exam to multiple sections right here. Click Assign, and you're done. So now, let's say you want to print out a copy of this exam to be able to hand out in class. Switch over to your student view, and just so you know, here's our exam, our test we just created down here. I'm just going to drag it to the top to make it a little easier to see right now. Now, if you want to print this out, what you do is switch over to student view, and there's the exam. Click on it. You'll see the time limit that pops up. Gives the students the warning to let them know once they hit start. Timer is running for them. And there's their timer running. Now, if you want to print this out, just click Print. And there is a 50 question exam that you can pass out to your students to be able to utilize in class. It's pulled, like we said, 25 questions from the first chapter, 25 questions from the second. And, if you'll notice, this first question in here, what we're going to do is, you can just print this out to have this hit and pass this out in class. But if you wanted multiple, different versions of the same exam that you're passing out in class, print this one out. You can go back to your instructor view again. If you'll notice the first question in here, switch back to student view again. Click on the exam. And you'll notice it's now a different question because we scrambled it and then went through. So you can have multiple versions of this one exam that you create. Print this out, and you're ready to go to hand this out in class. This may be an easier way for you to manipulate the test bank and create exams than simply using the test bank that's available online in the typical instructor resources. I hope this was